The story begins with a girl gritting her teeth as she expresses her hatred for the prince. Not wanting to hurt anyone, she raises her hand in the air, casting a grand spell over the whole battlefield. The scene shifts to the mage girl facing off against a person wielding a sword who stands before her. She prefers dying by that sword rather than following orders. In a flashback, we see a voice calling her name, commanding her to kill. However, Fiona refuses to obey even at the cost of her life. We see this was all a dream as she wakes up and finds herself in a luxurious bedroom. Looking at the surroundings, she questions where she is. Luxury rooms always look suspicious when you expect dungeons. She thinks about the splendid room and looks at her hands where curse-sealing magic chains are bound, restraining her. Her sacred treasure is also lost, so she tries her magic, but it does not work. She recalls the previous day. Before losing consciousness, she remembers fighting on the battlefield. During that time, she was feeling very sleepy but still obeying the prince's orders. Suddenly, the strongest warrior of the enemy kingdom stood before her and struck her, making her realize that perhaps she has become a prisoner of war. But after looking at the luxury room, she rethinks her situation. If she were in her prince's country, she would be in prison at this time, which means this is something else. She remembers that on the battlefield she needed instant relief, but it was not possible then. Now perhaps she is a prisoner of war, yet maybe they do not have enough rooms in prison. Just then, when she turns around, a very beautiful gentleman is standing there. Seeing him leaves her greatly surprised. It's a common hazard in fantasy worlds. After seeing the weapon in his hand, she understands that he is an Azure Sacred Treasure user. This means she is inside an enemy state. The gentleman tells her he thought she would be asleep, so he entered without knocking. She replies that he should not be sorry because prisoners should not be treated so warmly. Though his voice sounds very lovely to her, the gentleman apologizes for the chains on her hands. Fiona studies him closely. When he asks what she finds amusing, she responds that on the battlefield, he always seems so full of anger. Seeing him like this is a surprise, and he admits he feels the same. The gentleman then asks her name and introduces himself as Matthias. Fiona tells him her name. He repeats it once or twice on his tongue, praising it as a very good name. Hearing this leaves Fiona greatly surprised. She realizes she never imagined Matthias could smile like that. At that moment, Luke, a cursed sealer, arrives, who also apologizes for not knocking and asks Miss Gold Magician about her condition. Fiona happily replies, which leaves Luke quite astonished. Now he speculates that perhaps Fiona will speak to him in her furious mode. But when he approaches and tells her his name, she shares hers in return. He's left speechless at her casual reply. He then takes Matthias aside and whispers to him that Fiona does not look the same as she did on the battlefield. Matthias is also taken aback by a significant change in Fiona's image, but he warns Luke to keep this feeling to himself. After seeing both of them, Fiona feels quite envious, but just then her stomach growls like it never respects dramatic timing. Luke asks if she is hungry and what she would like to eat. She replies that she can eat anything, nothing special. Matthias leaves to bring food for her, while Luke is surprised because he has never seen such an expression on Matthias's face before. Leaving that thought aside, Luke asks Fiona why she suddenly collapsed on the battlefield and if Matthias was the reason. She reveals that it was not because of Matthias, rather she was on the brink of falling asleep which caused it. Luke is confused, so Fiona explains that she had been working day and night for the prince and never got the chance to sleep. Deep down, she knows she's in enemy territory, even if treated with kindness. She hadn't killed anyone, but she'd hurt many under the prince's orders. Execution is the likely end. Now all she wonders is whether it will happen, and how. She recalls the prince and how he forced everyone to obey him. She's prepared to die. It was all by his command, but in her heart she despises him, blaming him for everything. To her, he is nothing but a stupid, heartless man. She then places her hand on her stomach while Matthias arrives back with the food. That's a literally 1-star review. Matthias and Luke are quite shocked to see Fiona lift her shirt and look at her belly, where in fact the restriction curse seal is gone. She asks them about the seal, describing its appearance. Luke quickly admits that he has broken it. Matthias quickly closes his eyes and covers Luke's, preventing him from seeing her. Fiona is touched upon hearing this because it was a curse bound to her until death. She happily thanks both of them for freeing her from that trashy prince, still unable to believe that they are showing her so much mercy. She speaks of the pain that came with even thinking of rebellion. Luke, furious, immediately assumes the prince is the worst. Before he can say more, Matthias calmly tells him to let her eat first. Seeing such good food, she is greatly surprised, for she had not eaten such vegetables and soups in a long time. Matthias asks why she is so happy when she was a top magician and should have been treated well. While eating, she explains that her meals were always limited, made simpler a year and a half ago. She lived in a corner of the palace, which leaves Matthias astonished that any prince could treat her like this. She believes it started when she refused one of the prince's more inappropriate demands. After that day, she began getting such terrible food. Matthias asks if she managed to refuse him even with the cursed seal on her. The room suddenly feels like a cheap drama scene. She replies that the seal was on her at the time, but she was ready to die rather than obey him if he had not withdrawn his command himself. Luke says there's no way the prince would ruin someone as important as her just because he didn't get what he wanted. Fiona agrees, adding that otherwise she would have been dead by now. Hearing this, Matthias steps forward and attempts to unlock her chain. Luke protests that they don't have permission, but Matthias glares at him, saying everything will be fine, and unfastens it. Confused, Fiona asks if it's okay for the chains not to be linked. He replies that there will be no problem with him and Luke present. Matthias urges her to request anything she wants to eat, as much as she likes. Somehow Matthias makes ask for food sound like a royal decree. Meanwhile, Fiona thanks him. Just then, he turns toward Luke. As soon as he glances at him, Luke picks up the dishes and walks outside. Left alone in the room, Matthias and Fiona remain by themselves. He mentions that he wants to know more about her and encourages her to share about herself, specifically when she was chosen to be a sacred treasure user. She recounts that it was 12 years ago, and she proceeds to describe everything to him in detail. At that time, she explains, the Galjud Empire possessed 3 sacred treasures. This treasure includes a golden bracelet that grants inexhaustible magical powers to the wearer. These treasures have been passed down since ancient times, and each one is surrounded by a veil of mystery. Every country has these kinds of treasures and keeps them confidential as a national secret. Only the chosen ones can handle them, and that particular bracelet had not had a user for 200 years. Every year in the Empire, all children who turn 6 years old are gathered together in the hope of finding someone who can handle the treasure. Each child who touches it and is unsuccessful can return home. But during this process, when Fiona went to the treasure, as soon as she touched it, a great light appeared, which completely astonished her. The moment she was recognized by the golden bracelet, she was made to sign a contract. It stated that if she disobeyed her master, the prince, she would lose her life. After that, she dedicated her life to the empire. She was also separated from her family and was only allowed to see them after 1 month. Apparently, childhood trauma is step 1 of training for her. This is how she learned magic. After all this, she was assigned missions. She was sent outside to fight demons or for land cultivation. The rest of the time, she was forced to be the prince's partner, which was a complete waste of time, like a living hell. Whenever she went to him when he called, she would always find him enjoying himself with other women. So her hatred for the prince grew in her heart, but she would internally spell out loathe instead of hate because of that contract. Eventually, the prince demanded her company one night, but she refused. But as she refused his order, blood started coming from Fiona's mouth. The prince then ordered to slaughter all enemies, and he was astonished to see her refuse the command once more. She began coughing violently, blood staining her as the cursed seal's magic took its toll for her defiance. Even under the prince's questioning, she insisted she'd rather die. Hearing this, the prince began to sweat. The day before her 18th birthday, overwhelmed with grief, she ran out of the palace in a panic, only to find 2 coffins waiting outside. They were her parents. She collapsed beside them, weeping uncontrollably as she clung to the caskets. They were attacked by thugs on their way to the palace to see her. Since then, Fiona began to search for the answers to these questions. Why was she doing all of this, and for whom? She didn't know the answer. Nothing mattered to her anymore. During this time, she just kept herself busy for the Empire as a magic and sacred treasure user. All of a sudden, she started feeling unwell on the battlefield. Just before losing consciousness, she saw a warrior with a sword raised, coming towards her. She wondered in her heart if he would make all of this easier for her. While speaking to Matthias, she confesses that she had thought she would be cut in half right there, but she is astonished to find herself alive. They were both enemies on that battlefield, which was very strange. After thinking about all this, Matthias also feels something odd. He inquires if she needs anything else. Although her actions are restricted, Fiona is surprised. He follows up by asking what she wants to do at this moment, which Fiona finds strange, asking a prisoner what she wants. But she wonders if she should spoil herself. Only Matthias would treat a prisoner's shower request like a VIP wish list. She asks if it would be okay for her to take a shower. He consents and escorts her to a place where she can do so. After her shower, she comes out. Matthias is standing to the side when a voice is heard, asking for permission to enter. A woman comes in and wishes her a good day, saying she came here upon hearing that she had woken up. After recognizing her, Fiona recalls that they had met several times before, and she agrees. She introduces herself as Layla, the leader of the 1st Magic Division, who always returned from her encounters with Fiona after being completely defeated. Fiona remembers her as well. She thinks that because of this, she will be hated here. She bows and apologizes for all her troubles and states her name. Seeing this, Layla is stunned. She runs to Matthias and whispers to him that Fiona is completely different from what she thought. She had come here to take out her daily grudges on her, but now it doesn't seem like that will happen. Meanwhile, Fiona thinks to herself that these people are very friendly. But then her dripping hair prompts her to call out to Matthias, asking if he will cut her hair up to a certain point. Matthias is somewhat surprised and wants to know why she wants to do that. She further explains that she kept her hair this long because the prince told her to, and right now she can't use her magic to dry it. Hearing this, Layla flares up in anger and immediately goes to her and uses her magic on her, and her hair dries. Layla drying hair with magic is the most aggressive salon service ever. She thanks her, and Layla promises that if she can't dry it herself, she will give her a magic appliance. But then she urges Matthias to voice what is on his mind now, so he musters up his courage, comes close to her, and calls her name. He entreats her not to cut her hair, insisting that it looks beautiful on her. Hearing this, she is completely taken aback, while Matthias looks directly into her eyes. She reflects on his compliment. It's the first time a male other than the prince has complimented her, since the prince's words only disgusted her. Thinking about how happy she is with all of this, she remarks that if she's going to be executed anyway, wouldn't it be better if she cleaned herself up a bit? Execution talk really kills the mood, literally. Hearing this, both Matthias and Layla are completely stunned. They stare at Fiona, wondering what she means by the word, while she thinks to herself, what's wrong with these two now? Surprised, they ask her what she means by that. Fiona asks if she isn't going to be executed, as all of this seemed normal to her. Layla then whispers in Matthias's ear, asking if he hasn't told her anything yet. He replies that he was waiting for her to wake up. Matthias thinks to himself that he was just about to tell her, but he completely forgot. He also reflects that he can't believe Fiona is taking the idea of execution so lightly. Layla points a finger at Matthias and orders him to explain everything to her now, and then she slams the door and leaves. That's the international symbol for not my problem anymore. So now he remarks that he will tell her, but first she should sit down. The very first thing he reveals is that Fiona will not be executed. He goes on, explaining that it is also confirmed that she will not be punished. Hearing this, Fiona finds it amazing, since executing people in her empire was a very common thing, even for a very small mistake. Matthias explains that he brought her home because a powerful enemy fell before his eyes. He elaborates that in this country, executions are very rare, and Fiona hasn't committed a single kill. Besides, since she is also a sacred treasure user, he brought her here for the sake of the country's interests. However, to achieve this, she will have to prove her loyalty, and until then, they will restrict her powers. He also mentions that if she no longer has any attachment to that empire, they want Fiona to become their country's magician. Hearing this, Fiona freezes in her place. She asks if it is true that she will have to sign another contract with someone here before becoming a magician for this country, using a cursed seal again. But in her heart, she thinks that loyalty is a superficial thing, and binding someone with a curse is a quick way to ensure it. But she knows she won't do it again. Her past life, being bound by a cursed seal, was incredibly awful and painful. She decides that she won't go through with it again. Meanwhile, Matthias admits that some people also suggested that idea, but he rejected it. Hearing this, a look of astonishment appears in Fiona's eyes. She looks at him like he just reinvented kindness. He clarifies to her that this is why he decided that with Luke's help, he would only put chains on Fiona's hands. But those who complain about this, he will suppress. Fiona is surprised at this and asks if he is truly such an important person. He explains that he is like family to them, but most importantly, he is a sacred treasure user whose treasure is an azure sword. After hearing this, Fiona declares that she will have to call him Matthias-sama from now on. He advises her not to give him so much respect, and also mentions that he cannot give her freedom until she is no longer considered a threat to this country. However, he assures her that he will soon get her recognized here. Fiona begins to wonder why he cares so much about her. She's quite surprised by all of this, and with a chuckle, she remarks that she has already asked for everything she wanted. Matthias responds that she can ask for more, but she thinks to herself that she is already being treated so well that she can't show all of her wishes. All of a sudden, a thought comes to her mind. Is he doing all this out of pity? With that thought, she refuses him, saying that he has already given her a wonderful room, delicious food, and everything else. In her heart, she thinks that all of this is enough for her. But Matthias knows she is hiding something, perhaps because she's uncomfortable. He explains that he has some work to do and is going outside. He asks for her hand to put the chain back on, apologizes, and then leaves. As she sits there, she thinks about what a kind person he is. Even though they were enemies on the battlefield, she thought this person would be scary, but he isn't. She also thinks about how friendly everyone else is. It's almost suspicious how nice these people are. Today, she feels like she has received a lifetime's worth of kindness, something she might have only felt the last time she was with her family. In her heart, she starts to hear the voices of her parents, who are lovingly telling her to take care of herself. Her mother explains that if she goes against the emperor, she will be killed. Thinking about them makes her sad, knowing that the two people she loved the most, she will never be able to meet again. She picks up a cushion lying near her and hugs it to her chest, starting to cry. She then thinks that it must be expensive, so she puts it back in its place, thinking that she will dirty it with her tears. After all of this, she composes herself a little and looks at the room, thinking that maybe she should try a change of pace. She opens the window. A very gentle breeze touches her, with a beautiful scene outside. It's the kind of breeze that makes you rethink life choices. Everyone is enjoying themselves, and everything seems very peaceful. The building feels so big to her, and she stands there, taking in the view from above. A thought comes to her mind. What kind of person is this country's king? She knows that he hates conflicts, and she is sure that he must be a good person. During this time, she remembers Matthias' proposal of becoming a magician for his country. She wonders what her life would have been like if she had been born in this country. She imagines herself happy and peaceful with Matthias' subordinates. She then closes the window and thinks that she should look around a bit. She starts to open different things there. She opens a drawer and finds a very expensive necklace. In the closet there are many beautiful clothes. She starts to imagine herself in them. As she turns around, she sees a bookshelf. She picks up a book and starts to read. In the meantime, night falls and she feels very tired. Just then, someone asks for permission to enter from the door. She responds, "Come in," and it's Matthias who has brought her dinner. She is very happy to see him. She thanks him and asks if all of this is for her, to which he affirms yes. Seeing so much food, she is surprised and remarks that the amount is too much for her and she won't be able to finish it all. Matthias assures her that she can eat as much as she wants and leave the leftovers. She doesn't like to waste food, and when Matthias mentions that he will eat the rest himself, she is even more astonished. Since she doesn't want the second closest person to the king to eat her leftovers, she insists that she doesn't want that to happen, and she also doesn't want to waste the food. Fiona versus food waste, the real clash of clans, so she asks if he will eat with her. Hearing this, Matthias is suddenly shocked. He explains it's not that he can't eat, but after that, Fiona convinces him to eat with her, and they share a meal at the same table. He asks her if she liked it, and she praises every dish on the table. He reminds her that she can eat as much as she wants, and she thanks him, telling Matthias that he should also start eating now. He begins eating and finds the food to be quite delicious as well. Fiona also happily enjoys her meal. She thinks to herself that it has been many years since she last had such a delicious meal with someone. After that, Matthias inquires if she would like to take a shower. She explains that she didn't sweat much today, so she's okay for now and will take one in the morning. He informs her she can take one whenever she wants. He then unlocks the chain and advises her to put on her nightgown. She agrees but asks if he will have to come back at night to put the chain back on. She suddenly runs away from there to change. Chains off, pajamas on, medieval bedtime routine complete. Matthias goes outside and closes the door. He remarks that he can come here for any task whenever he wants, but he mutters that his chance to meet her at night is gone now. It's Fiona's second day as a captive. A knock on the door startles her awake, and she goes to see Matthias standing there. Prison life comes with surprisingly polite wake-up calls. Still groggy, she murmurs good morning to him. He asks if she would like to eat now or later, and she replies that she wants to eat right away. He unlocks her chains and tells her to go wash her face in the meantime. Suddenly, breakfast arrives. Fiona notices that everything on the platter is exactly to her liking, and Matthias reveals that he noticed her preferences the night before. This surprises Fiona, and she asks if they will be sharing all this food together again today. Matthias affirms that this is his plan. She thanks him happily, and they begin their meal with yogurt and honey. At the breakfast table, he mentions there's also some berry coulis, and he begins to pour some onto their plates. Fiona reaches out to get some herself, but her hand instantly recoils in embarrassment. He observes that she seems to have a real sweet tooth, and she shyly admits that she does love them. Seeing her eat and enjoy the food, Matthias chuckles. He thinks to himself that he should add a few more sweets for her. After their meal, he asks if she would like to go for a walk with him outside, noting how nice the weather is today. She blushes slightly and asks if she's really allowed to go outside. He reassures her, saying, of course, and adds that he will be with her to monitor her. She thanks him with a happy smile. Carrying the food trolley, they exit the room. In the kitchen, Fiona tells the cook that the food was excellent, and the cook happily offers her a candy. Bribery through sugar is universally effective. Fiona is deeply touched by the gesture, and they leave the kitchen. Stepping out of the castle, Fiona is captivated by the beautiful scenery. As they walk, everyone they encounter bows respectfully. She silently questions why everyone has been so kind to her, then asks Matthias why his clothes are different. He explains that it's because he's important, revealing that he had been forced to take on the responsibilities of a knight commander despite refusing the title. Fiona tells him he looks very handsome in the black clothes, which surprises him. He asks if she truly means that, and she confirms that she does. Afterwards, she marvels at the weather, surprised at how nice it is despite her only being there for 2 days. The next day, she develops a high fever, and Matthias stays with her, taking care of her. A healer arrives and confirms that the fever is quite severe. The healer explains that while he can only mend physical injuries, this kind of fever can only be cured with medicine. He then gives Fiona a medicine to drink. Now, whenever Fiona needs a drink, has to use the restroom, or requires anything at all while she's sick with the fever, Matthias is always there. He carries her on his shoulders wherever she needs to go, and even at night, he remains outside her room, watching over her. At this point, Matthias is a one-man Ober service. He reflects that an hour has passed. He goes to her again and places a warm compress on her forehead. Just then, a sound escapes her lips, the word mother, and upon hearing it, Matthias is filled with a sense of wonder. He grows very concerned for her, placing a hand on her face to calm her. After some time, she mentions ice cream. He goes to get it for her, and she eats it. As she eats the ice cream, she thanks him, looking very happy. He then encourages her to take another bite, and she opens her mouth. He feeds her the spoonful, and she eats it. She absolutely loves the ice cream. Matthias is completely taken aback, utterly mesmerized by the beautiful blush on her face. This whole experience feels completely unbearable to Matthias. The next day, he places his hand on her forehead and feels that her fever has been gone for quite some time. While feeding her soup, he says that this will help her last bit of fever disappear. He feeds her a spoonful, which she finds incredibly delicious. She thanks him and tells him she can eat the rest herself now. Matthias hands her the bowl of soup and departs. A little while later, she finishes it all and falls asleep. Late at night, when Fiona's eyes flutter open, she sees Matthias sitting with her. This man clearly skipped the go-home memo. She is surprised to see that he has been there for a long time and hasn't even attached her chains. This realization makes her feel quite good. She gazes at him, her mind wandering back to the last time someone sat with her like this, her parents, who took care of her. Matthias notices her staring and asks if she's awake, offering to get her something cold and sweet to eat. She agrees, and he helps her sit up, placing her chains back on, and tells her he will return shortly. She muses that Matthias doesn't need to feel so bad, and responds that she'll wait. In a little while, he returns with a milk pudding for her. She eagerly eats it all, and enjoys it very much. Matthias tells her that she should rinse her mouth after eating to avoid any cavities. She does as he says, rinses her mouth, and falls asleep. The next day, she is completely recovered. Matthias comes to her and notes that her fever is gone. He asks if she would like to eat something. She tells him that her throat is quite sore, so she won't be eating anything spicy. In response, he brings her some sore throat soothing candies, which he offers to her. Seeing the candies makes her very happy, and she thanks him, telling him they look quite pretty. She begins to eat them, finding the fluffy honey flavored to be her favorite. Somewhere, the jail menu committee is crying in shame. Matthias is quite pleased. He tells her that if she runs out, she should let him know and he will bring more. He informs her that he has a mission and is leaving, but will see her later. Just then, Luke arrives to check on her, and she tells him that she is completely fine. This pleases Luke greatly, but just then, his eyes fall upon the candies. Seeing the candies, his face turns pale, and he asks, trembling, if Matthias gave them to her. Luke looks like he just witnessed national secrets in candy form. She confirms that Matthias brought them and told her they were for her sore throat. He is left utterly stunned, and Fiona notices his reaction. She asks if the candies are expensive. Flapping his hand, he replies that they're not, and that they can be bought anywhere, urging her to eat them quickly to soothe her throat. He thinks to himself that he knows he can't tell Fiona that these candies are so incredibly valuable and expensive, meant only as state-level gifts. If he tells Fiona she won't eat the candies, she'll feel guilty. And just imagining Matthias's reaction, it won't end well for him. With that, he whistles, acting as if he's seen nothing at all. Nothing always sounds suspicious when said too fast. He mumbles something under his breath about Matthias being devoted to her. Fiona, hearing him, asks what he said. He denies it, claiming it was nothing. Luke knows that no woman who has ever approached Matthias before has seen him act so openly, but ever since Fiona arrived, his behavior has become much more enthusiastic with her. He reflects that he has become a little taken aback by Mr. Matthias, but he wants this girl to find a bit of happiness for herself. Until then, he will watch over her from behind. It's been a few weeks since Fiona arrived in the kingdom. Her days have passed in quiet comfort, sharing meals, playing card games with Matthias, taking long walks, snacking, and sleeping soundly. She always wakes up with a smile and sometimes thinks she might just turn into a happy bum if this continues. This morning she's lost in thought again, wondering how she even got permission to clean her room. The cleaning tools were so high quality, she felt guilty using them. For someone meant to be a prisoner of war, she feels far too at ease, and the thought lingers uneasily in the back of her mind. Her musings are interrupted when Matthias enters to let her know he'll be away on a mission today. In his place, Luke will be keeping an eye on her. He also tells her she's been called to meet the king and asks if she's all right with going under Luke's escort. She gives a small nod in response. He mutters a complaint about the raccoon geezer being the reason he can't accompany her, then waits while she changes into the formal clothing worn by women in this country. The unfamiliar outfit needs adjusting, and Matthias helps fix it before she quietly thanks him. With a wave, he heads out. Not long after, Luke arrives. They greet each other and begin walking toward the castle together. Along the way, Luke comments on how calm she seems. Fiona replies that being nervous wouldn't help, and Luke agrees with a small laugh. Soon, they arrive at the castle's door. As Fiona enters the court, she sees His Majesty seated on the throne, surrounded by attentive servants. The hall is richly decorated, and the king sits in a classic, dramatic royal pose, clearly waiting for her. Luke and Fiona step forward. She notices Luke dropping to his knees, and following his lead, she also bows. His Majesty then declares that, at last, he is meeting the Gold Magician. He introduces himself, revealing his name as Descartes, the king of this country. He instructs her to lift her head. At that very moment, Luke glances toward Fiona and gives her a subtle wink. Nothing says respect like winking during a royal introduction. Fiona raises her head and, in a calm and gentle tone, expresses that it is her pleasure to meet His Majesty. She introduces herself as Fiona. Yet the moment her eyes fall upon His Majesty, she notices that his face bears a faint resemblance to Luke's. She grows quite astonished, wondering how such a resemblance could even be possible. As she glances back at Luke, His Majesty explains that Luke is his nephew. Hearing this, Fiona feels another wave of surprise and reflects in her heart that Luke too belongs to royal blood. She turns toward him and addresses him as Luke Sama, but he quickly responds that such formality is unnecessary. At that moment, the king begins to turn the conversation toward his own words. Royal family drama unlocked. The king addresses her, remarking that he has heard much about Fiona from Matthias, yet this is the very first time meeting her face to face. He then mentions that he has a few questions to ask. Fiona responds that he may ask her anything. The king proceeds to inquire about the kingdom where she once lived. Galjude, seeking details regarding some of its internal affairs. Fiona agrees to his request and begins to share her account. She explains that it has now been nearly a year since the Empire has been attempting to plunder the kingdom of Elsida, because peaceful kingdoms always attract aggressive neighbors apparently. At first, the relations between the two countries were good, but after their emperor fell ill, his first prince, Gilbert, seized full control. Using the strength of his power, he began occupying the richer territories. With the aid of his magic and sacred treasure, he seized countless resources, places where magic tools were crafted and magic stones were found, bringing them all under his command. She further explains that soon after, the kingdom's defenses were reinforced and numerous wars broke out, though the people protested heavily against it. Since theirs was once a peaceful kingdom, Gilbert ignored it all and pursued his ambitions. Hearing this, a heavy silence spreads throughout the king's court. Nothing like a little war talk to dampen the vibe. The king turns to Fiona and asks what kind of man the imperial prince truly is. Unable to restrain her emotions, she reveals that he is a tyrannical, arrogant, cruel, inhuman figure, a wicked, nasty person. Hearing her words, even the king is left in shock. Not exactly a glowing LinkedIn endorsement. In her heart, she wishes the other empire would think the same of that prince. The king then asks if it is true she is not loyal to the empire, and Fiona confirms it. She explains that once she had a precious home, but it no longer exists. Saying this, she grows deeply sorrowful. After that, the king asks her if she no longer wishes to return. She responds that under no circumstance will she ever go back, and her words compel the king to ponder deeply. He then inquires what she thinks about Matthias. Hearing this, Fiona is taken aback, astonished that the king would pose such a question. Yet since it is the king asking, she realizes she must consider her response carefully and answer properly. Nothing like being put on the spot by royalty. She reflects that Matthias is an attentive and caring person, and whenever he is with her, she feels a deep sense of ease. Basically emotional Wi-Fi. At that moment, she makes up her mind and tells the king that Matthias feels to her like a mother. Yet even as she speaks, she herself is unsure of the words. Hearing this, Luke can't help but let out a laugh. Wrong parent upgrade selected. Fiona glances at Luke, who is smiling and wonders what she said that was so funny. The king covers his mouth, chuckling and feeling genuine pity for Matthias, while the others struggle to hold back their laughter. She realizes that saying mother might have been an accidental insult and father would have been safer, but she feels mother fits better. She quickly asks the king not to tell him. The king assures her that he will keep the matter to himself, and everyone else present will do the same. Understanding their agreement, she decides to thank him and move on. Yet in her mind, she realizes she will have to be careful about it herself from now on. Note to self, parental metaphors are risky. On the way back, Luke praises her but mentions that he wants to go to the toilet as he's reaching his limits. Fiona gestures for him to tie something to her hands, and using magic, he assures her that he will return shortly. After he leaves, Fiona suddenly sinks to the ground, caught in a spell that prevents her from rising. The whole experience feels quite amazing to her. Now she sits on the ground, and at that moment she hears the sound of approaching footsteps. Looking up, she sees a person standing right in front of her, and she raises her eyes to meet them. The person glares at her, and Fiona now realizes she has seen him somewhere before, within a battlefield. She wishes him a good day, but the person remains silent and extends his hand toward her. Definitely not a friendly handshake moment. Using his hands, he conjures water and throws it straight onto her face, drenching her completely. As she looks at him, he simply laughs. He steps closer and tells her that without her magic powers, she is nothing more than a weak woman. Fiona watches him and finally realizes that this is the same person who used to attack her with water on the battlefield. Now he stands before her, radiating an unmistakable air of menace. At that moment, another person arrives. Fiona tells the one with the water magic to clean the floor so that no one slips while passing. He replies that Fiona should clean it herself. She responds that she could, but she's already wet, and if she goes, the floor will only get wetter. She pauses, thinking about what to do next. Just then, Luke arrives, startling him. He shouts at Graham, demanding to know what he did, then uses magic to reverse the curse seal. He then orders Graham to clean the floor, and as he starts, Graham mutters that he was going to do it anyway. After this encounter, Fiona introduces herself and shares her name. However, Graham storms off in anger, and she and Luke watch him leave from behind, standing in silence. Suddenly, Fiona feels gloomy. Luke tells her that the truly weird person was the one who just left, as he hadn't expected him to reach her in such a short span of time. He then suggests to Fiona that they head back to her room. The scene shifts to Fiona eating a cupcake in her room. She asks Luke if this building is called the Magician's Lodging and if he stays here himself. He replies that he stays in the neighboring building with Matthias, where the knights are, but this room is a super VIP room, just as Fiona had expected. After a long pause, Fiona comments to Luke that the people here are quite nice, but thinking about the Graham incident, Luke is surprised by the expression on her face. The reason for Fiona's remark was that in her previous kingdom, she had endured so much that the water slash felt like just a normal incident. Luke explains further that perhaps it's because Fiona had spent so much time on the battlefield helping the injured and wounded, while also secretly interfering with attacks by her own allies. When battlefield trauma makes waterboarding seem casual, and here everyone knows what Fiona has done. Hearing this, she pauses for a moment and asks why. Inwardly, she realizes that instead of the usual golden light, she had secretly modified it to use white light magic, yet she was confident that no one would ever find out about it. Luke explains that the one who had noticed it was Matthias, and when he had by chance caught Fiona, he had told everyone. Since people often thought many false things about her, Matthias had felt it was necessary. This is why Fiona now realizes that Layla is very kind to her, and she sees no trace of hatred in people's eyes. Accidental PR campaign achieved. In her heart, Fiona thinks that it is better than being treated as an enemy. As she reflects on this, she feels deeply embarrassed. The next morning, Matthias arrives at Fiona's place and casually mentions that they are heading to town today. Hearing this, she feels a twinge of curiosity, but after a brief pause, she suddenly becomes overjoyed. Fiona happily gets ready, thinking to herself that today she will finally visit the town, a long-cherished wish of hers. Matthias asks if she has brought her handkerchief. She replies that it's in her pocket, but she won't wear her coat because it's warm today. He insists she wear it anyway, explaining that although it's warm now, the temperature will drop later, especially with the cloudy skies. During this, Fiona thinks to herself that Matthias still seems like a good mother today. It's not every day your war captor doubles as your weather app. He comes over and tells her that she should wear some accessories, any jewelry she likes. Fiona finds it all far too expensive and says that her one-piece dress is already enough. She has never worn such jewelry before and doesn't know how. Matthias realizes she's holding back and, in response, picks up a hair clip and playfully makes a sound with it. He clips the hair accessory into Fiona's hair, enhancing her beauty, and says that with this hair clip, her hair won't bother her anymore. In his heart, he thinks she can keep it if she finds it helpful. After all this, Fiona blushes and asks where they should go. Apparently, the fastest way to her heart is through a hair accessory section. She steps out of her room and, with Matthias, begins this beautiful day. Everyone around is busy with their work, laughing and chattering joyfully. On the way, he asks if there's a specific place she wants to go. She says that anywhere is fine. Hearing this, he smiles at her. Suddenly, as they pass by, Fiona notices a sweet shop. Matthias tells her to leave it all to him. They enjoy a lot of sweets and continue on their walk. A balanced breakfast apparently includes sugar, and just a little more sugar. After a while, Matthias carries a lot of shopping back to her place. She asks if he wants her to carry a few bags, but he refuses. Meanwhile, Fiona notices a food stall. After buying some food and tasting it, she finds it really delicious, this being her first time eating it. Watching her eat, Matthias feels quite pleased and, while cleaning his mouth, tells her to eat a little more slowly. They stay at a small pet cafe, and seeing the place makes Fiona very happy. The attendant approaches them and says that if they are the reserved guests, they should come this way. Nothing says luxury like booking a cafe table that comes with cats instead of appetizers. Seeing so many cats around, she becomes extremely happy. The place feels wonderfully serene and beautiful to her. As she sits, one cat suddenly jumps into her lap and gazes at her face, making Fiona blush slightly and smile. Matthias mentions that she can gently touch the cat, and with joy, Fiona agrees. She begins to pet the cat, feeling very happy from the interaction. They sit at the table enjoying tea, and Fiona finds the whole scene incredibly cute. Fiona is basically one step away from declaring this cafe her new permanent residence. They start playing with the cat. After a while, they leave the cafe, and Fiona tells Matthias that she really likes animals, but cats are her favorite. She thanks him for reserving the spot. Meanwhile, Matthias thinks to himself how great this moment is and reflects that he had observed this about Fiona from her habits. He thinks that if he had asked Fiona earlier whether she liked cats, she might not have been able to answer. At a nearby bench, he sets down the items and tells her he has work at a nearby station, so she'll need to wait there with them. Fiona raises her hands, asking him to place a protective magic seal on them. Matthias falls briefly silent, then says he won't put the chain. Surprised, Fiona watches as he turns to leave, saying he has to go. Left behind, she wonders if everything will be all right with her hands unbound. After he leaves, she sits blankly on the bench, her mind wandering. She thinks that if she just ran away and got the curse lifted somewhere, she might be able to free herself. But would that really be okay? After a short while, Matthias returns and apologizes for being late. She tells him it's no problem, since it's only been about 10 minutes. Then she asks where they are heading next. 10 minutes of overthinking feels like a full novel draft in her head. He tells her that he is now taking her to the great library, which is so vast that Fiona is amazed upon seeing it. The library attendants take the luggage from Matthias and keep it safely. Matthias explains that he has come to pick up some books, and Fiona is free to spend her time here as long as she wishes. Fiona begins wandering around the library, pulling out some books and gradually gathering all the ones that capture her interest. Meanwhile, Matthias searches for the books he needs, glancing at her from time to time. Fiona settles in a corner, arranging and reading through her collection. She looks less like a prisoner and more like someone auditioning for World's Happiest Librarian. She sits there, thinking about how free she feels. Ever since arriving in this country, every day has felt like a day of rest. Yet a thought crosses her mind. Can this really be right as a prisoner of war? While squeezing her hands, she reflects on her sacred treasure, knowing she no longer has it, yet remains confident she can still be useful. She recalls her magic instructors telling her that she has already learned everything. There is nothing more. She thinks, gently gripping her hands, that if her magic returns, she would use it for the people of this country. About an hour later, Matthias comes to her and says that it's time to leave. He asks if she wants to pick out some books for herself. She tells him which ones she wants, and Matthias says that he will take care of the formalities, but she has to put back the other books. The saddest part of any library trip, saying goodbye to books you'll never actually read. After returning, Fiona feels very happy. She watches as Matthias places all the items in the room and tells her that she can use everything she likes. Fiona is surprised and asks if all this shopping wasn't his. He explains that all the shopping is hers, and since nothing can be returned, she can either keep it or discard it. Seeing that all the items match her interests perfectly, Fiona thanks Matthias. Hearing this, Matthias feels very pleased that his plan worked. A few days pass, and now he prepares himself, while Fiona prepares herself, as today is her second audience with the king, and this time Matthias will accompany her. Fiona basically just unlocked the DLC level of royal interviews. Matthias explains that today His Majesty will inquire of her, and she will have the chance to agree to become a magician of this country. However, if she does not wish to, she can decline. Fiona asks if Matthias didn't want this himself, and he replies that he did, but he will never force her to do anything. He adds that after today, no one will have control over Fiona, and she will be free to act as she wishes. Hearing this, she is confused. Fiona reflects that Matthias is willing to grant her every wish. Just then, the door opens and Luke enters, greeting her. He approaches and casts 2 kinds of magic on her hands, saying she's now ready to see the king. It's time to go. At this rate, her hands are collecting more seals than a stamp book. They head toward the palace. Fiona thinks that if she speaks honestly, something unexpected might happen, but still, she quietly thanks Matthias for her happiness. Her desire to be useful to this country grows stronger as they arrive at the court. The king sits on his throne as the 3 bow before him. He asks Fiona if she still stands by her claim of having no loyalty to her former empire. She confirms it. He then asks if she's willing to take an oath to become a magician of this kingdom. She clenches her fist and states she vows it. In her heart, she wants to do something wonderful for this land. Hearing her words, both Matthias and Luke feel deeply pleased. She also declares that she will never commit any atrocities and does not want any curse mark on her that could be used to bind her to obey orders. In her heart, she feels that she will never obey any unjust orders or those against her country. She also wishes to repay those who have stood with her within this empire. The king tells her that if this is the case, then as long as she does not betray, everything will be fine. The king basically just gave her the magical version of don't be evil. The king asks her if she wishes to get along with the magicians and mages here. She replies that she does not know many people in this place yet, but Luke and Lila have been very kind to her. When Matthias comes up in the conversation, she mentions all the good deeds he has done for her. Luke is surprised to hear this, worried that Fiona might say something unnecessary. At that moment, Fiona adds that she has strong feelings for Matthias, as he has been very kind and caring toward her. Hearing this, Matthias is slightly surprised, but Fiona utters the words, just like a mother. Realizing what she has said, she quickly covers her mouth, thinking to herself how it slipped out. As she glances lightly toward Matthias, he is already feeling quite gloomy over her words, while Luke is equally surprised, wondering how Fiona managed to say that. There goes romance, crushed instantly under the weight of an accidental mom comparison. Even the king chuckles a little and tells her that he just wanted to confirm everything. Fiona, still tense, excuses herself, and while leaving, wonders what to do. She feels quite embarrassed that she let it slip, but Luke reassures her that it is his fault. He apologizes to her, explaining that today he placed an extra magic seal on Fiona, designed to compel her to speak the truth, which is why she revealed everything. Fiona thinks that she has offended Matthias, but he tells her not to remove the magic seal yet. She goes to Matthias and apologizes, saying she never intended to insult him. Magic seal or not, this whole conversation feels like truth or dare gone wrong. She tells him that she never meant anything wrong, as she truly thinks he is a wonderful person. Matthias is surprised, but she continues, saying that whenever she is with him, she feels happy and safe. She adds that Matthias seems like a strong, wonderful man, cool in himself with a cool voice, and that she loves everything about him. Hearing the word love, Matthias lets out a sigh. She tells him that he heard correctly, because out of everyone she has met so far, Matthias is the only person she loves this much. Hearing this, Matthias becomes even more surprised and intrigued. Turns out Force Truth magic seals are the fastest matchmakers in history. She also tells him that she is not lying, as Luke already confirmed it with the magic seal on her hand. Hearing this, Matthias is both surprised and pleased. He adds that if he can be number one in Fiona's heart, even if thought of just like a mother, he does not feel insulted in the slightest. He adds that she should not mind the king's words, as his way of thinking is quite different. Just as Fiona turns to Luke to say something, he quietly stops her. Luke clearly knows when to keep a dramatic soap opera scene from escalating further. They return to Fiona's room, where he removes the magic seal from her hand and tells her that she is now completely free. He explains that she can do whatever she wants. Matthias explains that she hasn't shown any threat to the public, which was confirmed during yesterday's outing. Fiona wonders if he left her alone on purpose, but he says taking her into town was necessary to prove her trustworthiness. She realizes that being free also means spending less time with Matthias. Freedom does have its downsides, like less clingy captor time. He reassures her that he'll still spend time with her when he returns from missions, and they'll continue sharing breakfast and dinner. He'll also visit her at her office. Hearing this, Fiona feels genuinely happy and thanks him. Looking at her hands, she thinks that from now on she's free, no longer a prisoner, but a magician of this country. She's determined to do her best and be of use here. From prisoner to full-time employee, Fiona really nailed the career pivot, and in the same way, a new day begins in Fiona's life. She rises in her room, gets ready for the morning, styles her hair, and now she has also become an important part of this empire. She has accepted herself as a magician of this kingdom. The kingdom has accepted her too, and now she begins to enjoy life happily alongside everyone else. Turns out national citizenship looks a lot like a makeover montage. Layla takes Fiona to the 1st Magic Division training ground, where she silences everyone and declares that Fiona is now their comrade. She is no longer an enemy, and everyone must acknowledge her. Layla warns that anyone who dares to bully Fiona will not be forgiven. Upon hearing this, some feel happy, while others feel uneasy. Fiona tells the group that she apologizes for all the mistakes she made before, but now she will work hard alongside them so they can collaborate well. Seeing her carefree and determined attitude, everyone is astonished, because on the battlefield, they had never seen this completely different side of Fiona. It's amazing what a personality glow-up can do when you're not hurling fireballs. Then Lila starts their training and instructs them to run 30 laps around the ground. She also tells Fiona that if she gets tired, she can take a short break in between. During the run, Fiona thinks to herself that she knows magicians need both stamina and martial arts, so they can use magic effectively in every difficult situation and whenever necessary. But if she had her sacred treasure, she wouldn't need to worry about this at all. Even if she got tired, she could simply lighten everything using the wind. As she runs, she realizes she may not be able to keep up with them, but she decides to give it her best effort. She quickly learns that stamina training is just magical suffering in disguise. Somehow, Fiona completes her run, and Layla praises her for not giving up until the very end. She asks Graham to give Fiona some water. Graham asks why he should give her water when there are others around. But he adds that since Layla is the captain, he must follow her orders. So he uses his magic to create water and tells Fiona to open her mouth. With that magic, Fiona drinks the water and thanks Graham. Graham turns his face away and walks off, saying that he only followed the captain's order. Meanwhile, Layla keeps watching him, because she had thought Graham might mess around and spill the water on Fiona's face. Instead, he obediently followed her command, leaving her quite surprised. Even his reluctant obedience energy is stronger than most people's spells. After that, Fiona observes the distant magic drill, where many magicians are performing their spells. Since Fiona's magic is still sealed, she only watches, and the moment she hears the term magic drill, her teacher's words from childhood echo in her mind. When she was taught that one half comes from forming the magic formula, and the other half comes from combining her magical powers skillfully to perform magic. Her teacher had told her that mentally constructing it is very difficult, and with each attribute, the magic grows more complex. That's why most magicians manage only 2 attributes. Basically, magic is like advanced math, except with louder explosions. But the most important thing is how quickly one can acquire this magic. During this, Fiona watches a magician in astonishment, and Layla asks her if she truly wishes, then she should explore the city. She sees a girl performing magic and tells Layla that the blue-haired girl's magic could be improved a little. Pointing toward her magic circle, Fiona explains that this part should be changed. Since she cannot use magic herself, she sketches the correction on the ground to show how it should be done. Nothing says team player like backseat spelling a stranger's magic circle. And just then, the girl follows Fiona's advice and fixes that part. As soon as she does, the magic's power doubles, glowing intensely, and the roar of energy grows much stronger. Seeing this, Layla is left astonished. Now, the girl tells Fiona in surprise that her magic consumption remained the same, but the power doubled. Layla also gives all the credit to Fiona, and the girl happily thanks her, calling her amazing. Fiona, a little embarrassed, responds with a polite welcome, and then they move on as Layla takes Fiona to another place. Fiona basically reinvented life hacks, but for explosive spells. At the end of the morning training, everyone gathers for lunch. The same girl comes and sits with Fiona, asking if she may join her. Fiona allows it, and the girl happily introduces herself as Nina. Watching them chat together, Layla also feels pleased. She leaves Fiona there, thinking she will be fine. And when night falls, Matthias stands outside Fiona's room and knocks, but no sound comes from inside. Just then, Layla arrives and asks what he is doing there. He explains that he came to call Fiona for dinner. Matthias lurking outside doors really nails the overprotective babysitter aesthetic. And upon hearing that Fiona isn't opening the door, Layla pushes it open, since it isn't locked. Looking ahead, Layla lets out a small laugh, and Matthias wonders what she's laughing at. As he steps forward, he sees Fiona asleep on her bed, squeezing her cushion tightly. At that moment, Matthias steps closer, lifts the blanket, and gently covers Fiona. Layla teases him, asking if he's showing possessiveness, while he hushes her. Layla explains that Fiona must have been exhausted from the running today, which is why she fell asleep so quickly. He then asks if Fiona managed to complete the run, and Layla replies yes, and even though Graham complains, he still took care of her. Even unconscious, Fiona manages to create peak drama levels in the room. Layla says she feels the real problem lies with Muriel, but Matthias replies that there shouldn't be much issue with that girl. However, he quickly shifts the topic toward Graham and demands to know more about him. Seeing his anger, Layla realizes he shouldn't act this way or Graham will start hating him. She warns him not to do anything that could make things difficult for Fiona. At that moment, he hits his nail into his hand so that he can't retort anything. Just then, Fiona wakes up from her sleep and looks at both of them in surprise. Matthias tells her that it's dinner time, and the moment she hears the word food, she gets up. Matthias helps her get ready and even tells her to put on a coat. Watching all this, Layla is left astonished. Food remains the most reliable alarm clock in Fiona's life, and she remarks that Matthias is like a mother. Hearing this, he immediately gets annoyed, while Fiona quietly thinks the same in her heart. After that, they come for dinner, and when the food arrives, they begin eating. Fiona asks why Matthias eats so much, and he explains that whenever he uses his sacred treasure, he feels extremely hungry. He then asks if Fiona experiences the same. She replies that she does feel hungry, but she can't eat much, so she manages with sweets. Ever since she started getting plain food, all of that stopped, and she was only given pills instead. Matthias then tells her that here she can eat as much as she wants. She thanks him, and while eating, they both get busy in the rest of their conversation. From battlefield trauma to dessert bonding, this friendship really has range. Now Matthias further says that once on the battlefield, he was about to chop Fiona's leg. Hearing this, Layla freezes, while Fiona starts recalling that day. Her magical barrier wasn't strong enough, so she took a direct hit from Matthias, but later he froze her and forced her to retreat. She tells Matthias in a friendly tone that the healers had healed her, so she is fine now. Meanwhile, Matthias thinks to himself how happy he had been to see her alive a few days later. He apologizes, but Fiona refuses, saying that she too had once blown off his arm. Yet Matthias explains that he had done that on purpose because he actually wanted to see Fiona's reaction, and at that time, she had been completely flustered. Apparently, their idea of bonding is just casually trading war injury stories. Now Fiona asks Matthias if his left hand is alright, and he replies that yes, it is fine because with the help of magic, he had it reattached. All these conversations deeply disturb Layla during dinner. As she hears Matthias and Fiona continue talking more about these things, she suddenly interrupts them. With anger, she tells them that they can stop talking about all these things right now. Both of them immediately fall silent, nod in agreement, and quietly continue eating their food. Dinner, the one place where war crimes are never welcome conversation starters.
Here I am, know it's been a while. I was in denial about my love. Here I stand, I know I walked away.